Learn English through story. The dark kiss of passion. In the bustling city of Yelander, where the old met the new in a tangle of cobblestone streets and sleek, modern buildings, lived a man named Ethan. He was a successful businessman, well respected and known for his charm and calculated demeanor. With his sharp suits, confident smile, and well-groomed appearance, Ethan commanded attention in every room he entered. He had a hollow lucrative career, a luxurious penthouse, and the admiration of his peers. But beneath his polished exterior, there was a darkness that he had long tried to suppress, a hunger that gnawed at his soul, whispering of passions he had kept hidden. Ethan's life had been carefully orchestrated. He had built walls around himself, ensuring that no one could see the true depth of his desires. He dated beautiful women, entertained influential clients, and maintained the perfect image of a man who had it all. But his heart was cold, and his nights were restless. His relationships, though numerous, were hollow. They were built on appearances, on superficial attraction and fleeting pleasure. Beneath it all, Ethan yearned for something more, something dangerous, something that would awaken the fire he had buried deep within. It was at an art exhibition one evening that Ethan's carefully constructed world began to unravel. The gallery was filled with the city's elite, sipping champagne and discussing abstract works of art as though they held the keys to life's mysteries. Ethan moved through the crowd effortlessly, his mind drifting, uninterested in the conversation or the paintings. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her. She stood alone near a large painting, her back to him. Her hair, jet black and silky, cascaded down her back in waves. She wore a dress that clung to her body like a second skin, its deep burgundy color accentuating her pale complexion. But it was not her appearance that caught Ethan's attention, it was the energy around her, a magnetic pull that seemed to ripple through the air, calling him closer. Ethan found himself moving toward her before he had even made the conscious decision to do so. As he approached, she turned to face him, and he felt his breath catch in his throat. Her eyes were dark, almost black, and when they met his, he felt a jolt of electricity course through his veins. Her lips, full and painted the same shade of red as her dress, curled into a knowing smile. "You seem lost," she said, her voice low and sultry. Ethan blinked, caught off guard. He was not a man who was easily shaken, but something about her made him feel vulnerable, exposed. "I'm just a broken bar admiring the art," he said, though his eyes had never left hers. She laughed softly, a sound that sent a shiver down his spine. "Is that what you call it?" Ethan's heart raced, but he forced himself to remain composed. "And what do you call it?" The woman tilted her head, her gaze never wavering. "I call it curiosity." "You've been looking for something, haven't you?" Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat. He didn't know how she knew, but she was right. He had been searching though for what, he wasn't entirely sure. "I'm Celine," she said, extending her hand. Her touch was cold, but not unpleasant, and as their hands lingered, Ethan felt the pull of something dark and thrilling awaken inside him. "Ethan," he replied, his voice quieter than he intended. Celine's smile widened. "Well, Ethan, perhaps I can help you find what you're looking for." The conversation that followed was brief, but electric. There was no need for pretenses, no need for small talk or polite introductions. Celine seemed to know him, to see past the walls he had spent years building, and she reveled in the cracks she found. She did not ask about his job, his status, or his accomplishments. Instead, she spoke of passions, of desires unfulfilled, of longings that linger in the darkest corners of the heart. Before the night was over, they had exchanged numbers, and by the next evening, they were together again, this time, in the shadowy confines of a dimly lit bar, tucked away in a part of the city where secrets thrived. Their relationship, if it could be called that, was unlike anything Ethan had ever experienced. With Celine, there was no pretense, no need for the charade he had played with so many others. She was unapologetic in her desires, and she awakened in him a hunger he had long denied. Their nights together were wild, passionate, and dangerous. Celine seemed to know exactly what he craved, even before he did. But as their encounters grew more intense, so did the darkness that lingered at the edges of their passion. Celine was not like other women, and it wasn't just her beauty or her mysterious allure. There was something about her that made Ethan feel as though he were teetering on the edge of a precipice, as though one wrong move could send him tumbling into an abyss from which there would be no return. He tried to ignore the warning signs of the way she seemed to know things about him that he had never shared, the way her presence seemed to linger even after she had left. But as time went on, the feeling of unease grew harder to ignore. One night, after a particularly intense evening together, Ethan lay awake in his bed, watching Celine as she slept beside him. Her chest rose and fell slowly, her dark hair spilling across the pillow like a shadow. For the first time, he felt a flicker of fear. Who was she, really? And what had she awakened in him? Unable to sleep, Ethan slipped out of bed and walked to the window, staring out at the city below. The streets were quiet, the lights of the skyscrapers twinkling in the distance. But as he stood there, lost in thought, he felt a presence behind him. "You're afraid," Celine's voice whispered in his ear, though he had not heard her move. Ethan turned to face her, his heart pounding. "What are you doing to me?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Celine smiled, but it was not the warm, inviting smile she had shown him before. This smile was cold, predatory. "I'm giving you what you've always wanted, Ethan." "Passion, freedom, the chance to let go of the mask you've been wearing for so long." "I'm losing myself," he whispered. Celine stepped closer, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. "No, Ethan, you're finding yourself." But even as she spoke, Ethan felt a chill settle over him. He had thought that passion was what he wanted, that the fire Celine had ignited in him was what had been missing from his life. But now, standing here, looking into her dark, unreadable eyes, he wasn't so sure. The passion they shared was consuming him, burning away the man he had once been, leaving behind someone he barely recognized. "Why me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Celine's smile widened, and for a moment, her eyes seemed to glow with an unnatural light. "Because you were already halfway there. I just helped you the rest of the way." Ethan's breath caught in his throat, and for the first time, he saw her for what she truly was. She was not just a woman. She was something more, yes, something darker. The passion she had offered him was not the liberating force he had imagined. It was a trap, a seduction that had ensnared him in its web, feeding on his deepest desires and pulling him deeper into the abyss. "You were never lost, Ethan," Celine said, her voice soft and dangerous. "You were just afraid to see who you really are." And with that, she leaned in and kissed him slow, deliberate, and with a coldness that chilled him to his core. It was not the kiss of passion he had craved. It was the kiss of something far more sinister. When she pulled away, Ethan stumbled back, his heart racing, his mind spinning. He had wanted passion, but now he saw the truth. Passion, unchecked, could be a destructive force. It could lead you down dark paths, strip away your sense of self, and leave you hollow, consumed by the very fire you once craved. "You should go," he whispered, though he knew, deep down, that it would not be so simple. Celine smiled again, that same predatory smile. "You can't send me away, Ethan." "Not anymore. You invited me in. You wanted this." He stared at her, his chest tight with fear. "What are you?" Her eyes flashed with that strange light again, and she stepped closer, her voice low and seductive. "I am what you made me. I am the embodiment of your darkest desires, the part of you that you tried to bury. But now that I'm here, there's no turning back." Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps as the truth settled over him like a shroud. Celine was not just a woman, she was the manifestation of his own inner darkness, a physical embodiment of the passions and desires he had long denied. And now, she was here to stay. "You wanted passion," she whispered, her lips brushing against his ear. "And now, You have it. In the weeks that followed, Ethan's life spiraled out of control. He became consumed by his relationship with Celine, unable to focus on anything else. His work suffered, his friendships faded, and his once ordered life became a chaotic mess of late nights, dark encounters, and sleepless days. But no matter how far he fell, he couldn't escape her. Celine was always there, lurking in the shadows, feeding on his desires and pulling him deeper into the darkness. The passion he had once craved now felt like a curse, a force that had taken over his life and left him powerless to stop it. Passion, though enticing, can be a dangerous force when left unchecked. In the pursuit of desire, we must be careful not to lose ourselves, for there is a fine line between passion and destruction. What we crave may not always be what we need, and in seeking fulfillment, we may awaken forces we cannot control. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.